What's up, everybody? Big Herc 916, getting down fresh out. You know how we do it over here. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, represent, go to the website, subscribe, so you guys can stay tuned in what we got going on. I'm here with my man Bryan. Bryan, tell the people who you are.
Yeah, Bryan served 9 years in the military, was in the infantry, reconnaissance, and special operations community with the Marine Raiders. Now I run a nonprofit called Valor Foundation, where we help out veterans getting back into civilian life, and also have a cannabis company called Helmand Valley Growers Company, where we donate 100% of our profits back to Valor Foundation.
Yeah, man, and we've been kicking up some game here, and as you guys have witnessed, the channel's been transitioning. We still do prison stories, but we get more into the military because I think these guys are underappreciated, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, everybody who served in the military should be a millionaire, especially if you were in combat. You should come home, get $1 million check. It's nothing. They do it, they give it to everybody else. They give it to all these foreigners. Give it to our people, right? 100 million? Shit, you could have gave how many veterans? $1 million? Hey, Congress, wake the F up. Anyways, Bryan, you know, we were talking, man, and dude, I know you've seen some crazy shit, and you know, I'm not trying to get you caught up with anything you can't talk about, but man, share with our viewers something that you witnessed that you can talk about that's, you know, pretty mind-blowing, that, you know, it would be something that you've seen these Hollywood guys try to depict in one of their, you know, fiction movies, but you've actually experienced.
Yeah, you know, it is interesting, some of the Hollywood movies. I mean, my wife always laughs because sometimes I'll watch and I'll be like, oh, God, it's like, this is not how it goes, you know, whatever. But I will tell people, watch Zero Dark 30. That was scary good. Like,
Zero Dark 30?
Yeah, especially the raid at the end. I'm like,
did I see it?
I'm like, hold on. So, yeah, because I talked to a guy like, I was talking to this guy, he was on the Bin Laden raid, and I was telling him a story about my brother-in-law worked for Maury Povich, and South Park did a video, or like a TV show on Maury Povich, and he's like, you know, there's like this shitty-ass cheese chair we have in the green room that all of the staff we know, like, it's just like bad, but South Park kept making fun of it, and they're like, there's no way South Park would know about that cheese tray unless someone from inside gave them some information, like was feeding them some stuff, because there's some inside jokes coming out. We're like, whoa. So I'm talking to this guy. I'm like, you know, I'm watching this raid at the end, and they're doing exactly what we do, like bang, L-shape, high ground, tactical call out, deliberate clear, and I'm like, man, that was like pretty fucking solid, like pretty dead on what we're doing here. And I'm like, you know, I started thinking, man, someone had to have been consulting on that one, because I can't see a Hollywood director say, okay, you know what we need? While the Navy SEALs trying to blow up this helicopter that they crashed in, like, we need to have them fall through the helicopter. It's like, who would say a Navy SEAL ninja needs to do that? And the guy laughs. He goes, no, literally one of the guys said fall through the helicopter and busted his ass. And he's like, so that did happen. He's like, yeah, someone was consulting on that one. So that's what I'm like, that was like too scary real of how accurate that was. And I don't care if people watch and try to study it. Like, if you know how to do it and you train well at it, it's almost unstoppable at that point. But there's a lot of things that go into play, but just not the guys on the ground. But you know, I think for me, like, some of the crazy stuff, you know, definitely like places I've been in the world. Like I said, like Africa to me was probably one of the worst places I've seen, because like slavery is just thriving there. I mean, it's a real thing, and that really was just like, you got to be kidding me. Like,
so Africa, because we don't really hear a lot about that. We see more about the Middle East. Dude, how crazy is Africa? Like, them soldiers, like, is that really, like, is there some really gangster shit going on over there?
Yeah, it's just, it's insanely corrupted. And again, like I said, like, you look at some of these places in West Africa with the white Moor, black Moors, Afro blacks, like, that's your class group, and that's where you're going to stay, and you're not going to move. And I just couldn't imagine a life like that. It's like, this is what you are, this is your group, and that's where you're going to stay for the rest of your life. But where's the hope? You know, and that's where you can see it's just such a depressing, like, well, this is just what I do. But I'd say, you know, definitely, like, you know, Iraq, we saw some wild stuff. Some of the stories I can't get into. But, you know, really Afghanistan, man, I got to give props to the Taliban. I mean, these guys were fighters. I mean, you kind of go back and look at warrior ethos of people, of like, you know, just how people's culture is. I mean, you look at World War II, the Japanese, I mean, they're finding people in the 60s, Japanese soldiers still in their caves.
Damn.
Fully functional weapon with rice. And, like, literally they had to fly in, like, American guys are walking by, and this dude's like shooting pop shots at him. They had to bring in like a Japanese commander to come in and tell this guy, the war is over, please come out, in the 60s. And he came out and whatever. Well, look at that warrior ethos. That goes back to the samurai. I mean, it's like, so like that's how people are. You kind of look at like the Arabs and Persians aren't exactly a bunch of badass motherfuckers. You look over in Afghanistan, those guys have been fighting forever. I mean, it's like Alexander the Great couldn't fucking take over Afghanistan.
Yeah, nobody. Yeah,
it's where empires go to die. So these dudes know what the fuck they're doing. So again, I didn't like them, but you got to respect your opponent. And the Taliban were pretty good dudes, and they wanted to get down with you, and they wanted to fight. And what we were doing there in the special operations world is we had things called village stability platforms. So we'd have Navy SEAL, Marine Raiders, Green Beret teams. They would go live in the local villages, be in traditional dress, bearded out. And they'll do things like, build a well to stand up a police force and everything in between to kind of help them build their own local economy, their own security, and kind of be able to stand up on their own feet. What my team did is we were the commando team. So I was in charge of the 7th Afghan Special Operations Kandak or Battalion out of the Helmand province. The Helmand was clearly the most volatile area in Afghanistan, reason being southwest part of Afghanistan, backups right to Pakistan. They have this huge area called the Helmand River Valley that goes through it. So it's like a triple canopy jungle with like a Mississippi River through it. And it was a big money source for the Taliban. So they would go down to Pakistan in November, hang out all winter, springtime come up, tell the farmers to throw out their crops. They'll throw out the poppy, cultivate the heroin, sell the heroin, Taliban would tax them, and that's how they fueled their insurgency. So it wasn't an area they wanted to give up. For us in the special operations world, what made it difficult was you're trying to, a lot of these wars isn't really a battle of like physical terrain, it's more of the human terrain and winning hearts and minds of the people. But when you have all key decision makers are like, I'm getting the fuck out of Dodge because this is fucking crazy. I'm just going to hire farmers to kind of farm my land and I'll get my money from it. You're dealing with these farmers who are like, dude, I'm like from fucking like 10 provinces over. I'm just here to fucking make some money. Like I have no skin in the game. But what we would do in the commando mission is we would take the Afghan commandos. We built them to be a lot like Army Rangers. More or less, they're not there to shake hands or kiss babies. It's kind of Hulk smash time. And we would fly in after high-value Taliban targets, or we would go help out the village stability platforms, create more white space where we would go fight the Taliban, give the village stability platform a little more maneuverability where they might want to set up another police checkpoint or something like that. And for me personally, probably one of the craziest times was we were in an area called Kaligas in Afghanistan in Helmand, which was pretty much like the Taliban capital in the Helmand province. And we flew in, came in under fire. We were kind of trading casualties back and forth. It was just one of those missions where you kind of know you're earning your stories, or they were coming at us. And it was an August morning or afternoon. It was kind of just super hot. And I'm in a fighting position next to like one of my corpsmen and one of my dog handlers. And I turn to my corpsman. I'm like, man, I could just go for an ice cold Coke. Like it was just like a hot day. And next thing you know, I hear like, shoo, like fly right by my head. And I knew it was a grenade launcher. It sounded like a fly ball. I neither said the word fuck, but I definitely know I thought the word fuck because like they got me. And that thing cranks off. I got shrapnel all throughout my body. The corpsman, he lost part of his tricep, got ripped off, and then our dog handler, the shrapnel went into his stomach. So he literally went on a vision quest. Like he dropped. We drug him into a position of cover and started taking the fight. But he woke up like 2 weeks later in Bethesda, kind of like, what the hell just happened? Like he had no clue, right? But during this fight, it was so hellacious. We have all these trees around us. One of the guys said it best. He's like, it looked like two giants had their hands on a tree shaking it. Like the amount of small arm ammo and RPGs and things that are flying out at us. And, this is where I just love the team and the aspect of where I was with these guys is very, obviously outstanding guys, like physical phenoms, very intellectually smart people. But everyone's a problem solver and everyone's really cool under pressure. And we trained kind of like a John Wooden mindset. Like John Wooden famously, before every first practice at camp, he would show, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's there, whomever, and he's like, this is how you put on your basketball shoe. Pull your socks tight and tie your laces like this and go over this and that. Because he's like, well, if your feet are hurting, you can't play basketball. It's the brilliance in the basics. And that's how we trained. And you have all this chaos going on. And we're just all very calmly on the radio talking to each other, like, hey, man, how are you doing? What's going on there? Even our Afghan commandos, man, you got to love those guys. Like, we had one guy, it looked like Super Mario Brother. He's up on a rooftop with an RPG. I mean, rounds are sprinkling all around him. I mean, I tell people I know what it's like to be in a popcorn machine because the rounds are just popping up all around us. And he shoots an RPG, puts another RPG in, and starts running, kind of like jumps into between two buildings, lands on the other one. Everyone's screaming, like, Commando, get down. Like, he is going to get fucking smoked. And he's like, rips another RPG, and then jumps off the top of the building and, like, on the ground, and he's like, Hopus, like, good. Like, that's it. Everyone's like, what the fuck? It was like Matrix shit. He's just, like, kind of like doing, like, I mean, this wasn't his day, shit. You know? Like, I'm like, damn. But, you know, it's kind of funny on my part because, you know, I'm shot up. I have, like, this fucking, like, rooster tail of blood flying out of the back of my left leg. And I'm still in control of the fire. I'm kind of doing what I'm doing. I'm like, I had to give my battle roster number to the higher-ups, and they're freaking out because they know I'm shot. And I'm like, hey, everyone just be cool. Just work with me. One of my guys tried to patch me up. He's trying to find a bullet hole, and he's like, dude. And he rips off the tourniquet off the center of my chest, and I'm like, fuck. And he's like, I know, I'm sorry. And he just cranked that thing on, which that fucking hurt. So we kind of calm everything down. We kill all the bad guys. I'm getting extracted. I'm kind of hobbling out like this, and I put my hand on a wall, and the wall collapses. These hornets fly out, so now I'm getting stung by hornets. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. So I'm shot, stung by hornets. Get onto the helo. We're flying back. Now, like, the fun meter's starting to be pegged. Like, people ask me, like, did you feel like, did it hurt? And I'm like, no, the adrenaline that hit my body, I could have ran through a wall. That was where I had to calm myself down. And now, probably 30 minutes after, like, the initial hit, fun meter's pegged. I'm starting to feel it. I'm like, oh, fuck. So one of the PJs, like Air Force cat, he, like, pulls out a needle, and he's like, bro. And I'm like, yeah, whatever that is, I'm taking it. I don't care at this point. And I'm like, dude. And he's like, oh, your leg looks shitty. I'm like, no, the tourniquet. He's like, oh, pulls out a knife and chop that off. And I'm like, oh, thank God. Shoots me up with ketamine. So now I'm kind of like, all right, I'm starting to trip out a little bit, like just kind of going to la-la land. Like, I knew what was going on, but I didn't know what's going on. And I had a huge hunk of metal out of the side of my head at this point. So as they're pulling me out of the helo at the hospital in Bastion, I don't know. I really have no idea what's going on at this point. And they pull me in to get a CAT scan to make sure there's no shrapnel in my stomach and stuff, because that's when they would have to do some interesting things. One of the British nurses, she walks in and she's like, I need to talk to Captain Buckley alone. Everyone get out. And then she asked me, she's like, do you have HIV or AIDS? I'm like, no. She's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I just literally got tested before I got here. And she's like, we got to give you an HIV test. And I'm like, why? And she's like, well, one of the nurses, as he was pulling you out of the helo, he didn't realize you had metal in your head. He sliced his hand open. So he bled into you and you bled into him. And I'm like, okay. So shot, stung, now I'm getting tested for AIDS. Then they pull me to go to get the surgery. And the doctor looks at me and he's like, yo, man, that left leg isn't looking good. I might have to take it. And I'm like, okay, shot, stung, AIDS. Now you're going to take my left leg. I'm like, that's it. And I'm like, doc, if I wake up, my left leg's gone, I'm going to beat you to death with it. And he's like, all right, man, happy trails. And just kind of gassed me up and woke up. Everything was still there. No AIDS. Still had sting bites. And then, obviously I still got metal throughout my body right now. But they gave me a choice to go home or stay. Luckily, my surgeon was a former Army Ranger. And I looked at him like, what are my options? And he's like, well, they want to send you home, but if you want to stay, I'll keep you. And I'm like, I'm staying. And he goes, all right. And he's like, I got to do 2 more surgeries in the next 72 hours on you. And I'm like, let's go. And they did that. 6 days later, I was back out on missions and didn't miss a single raid. But that was just due to, the great doctors and nurses there. And got back out with a bunch of my pipe hitting guys again. And we kept spreading the good message of America out there.
Damn. Woo! You guys talking about you guys are ready. You ain't no ready, man. You little busters out there. Oh, fake ass wannabe gangsters. Real G shit right here, man. And, dude, anything like that you could share with our people to give them a perspective, man, I appreciate it, man. And being able to actually be here today with us on our channel is an honor. A lot of people, they say negative stuff about America. Oh, man, F the government. Well, hey, man, go move. Take your ass down to Nicaragua. Go to Ecuador. Go to Peru. Go to Colombia. Go to Iran. Go to Iraq. Get the hell out of here. Leave. You don't like it. You know what I mean? There's things I complain about too, but, hey, if I had to get down and this man was by my side, I'd get down. Plain and simple. Big Herc, fresh out, getting down my man Bryan. You know how we do it. You tired of smelling like stanky butt, funky armpits? Wash your ass. Go to FreshOutSeries.com and pick you up a bar of soap.